Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, what up, what up, what up? Welcome to another edition of the Charles Coleman Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Coleman, and I am super excited to welcome you to another episode. We're going to do a different sort of thing today. We got a lot of conversation to have. We're going to talk about Fani Willis on the stand. We're going to talk about this new crazy app where you have to get a certain credit score to even get on the app. It's a dating app that requires you to have a minimum credit score to even get in the game. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what is going on in Club Shay Shay, because it seems like it's falling apart and getting a little wild over those parts. And we're going to talk a little bit about a new country music artist on the scene. Y'all may have heard. But I need some help this week because, usually I bring y'all the best conversations. They're entertaining and they're educational. But this week, I don't need to go back and do a guest or do a special conversation or anything like that, do an interview. We've been doing that, and that's been great. We appreciate all the love, all the support. But we're going to take it back. We're going to get some of our contributors on. We're going to run a triangle offense. We'll have some one-on-one conversation. We'll do something a little bit different. So I'm super excited about it. This episode is going to feel different. It's going to look different, but it's going to be amazing. I'm super excited to bring it to you. So stay tuned for another amazing edition of the Charles Coleman Podcast, where you can find us all the way up in outer space on Pandora, on Spotify, on Apple Music, on iTunes, on Amazon. All of the things is where you can find the Charles Coleman Podcast. We everywhere. So get with us. And with that, let's get to it. And just like that, guess who it is? One of your favorites, one of my favorites. Back with me on the virtual couch, of course, it's everyone's favorite chocolate drop. She's still the loudmouth from down south. She's still my sister, the one who I needed, never knew I wanted. Hilari Powell is in the building, or Hilary Younger is in the building.
Now these people got all my financial information.
Well, I mean, you worried about getting doxxed? Is that what
in the wide world of AI, absolutely.
In the wide world of AI. Hilary.
Hey, babe, I haven't seen you in so long. What you been doing?
We have missed you. We've missed you.
I'm so surprised that, listen, what's the guy's name who, you're like the Beyonce of, news right now.
I don't know about Beyonce of news, but I don't know about Beyonce news, but
the Ryan Seacrest of news.
Oh, wow. Right. That's a big one. That's a big Kids look that up. He was a big deal.
He was totally a big deal. He was everywhere all at once. They have scratched out so many names across the airwaves to replace, to only be replaced with Charles Coleman, right? Oh, we are so proud. Look at that. Look at that smile. Look at that $1 million smile. That's why they got you.
You trying to get me in trouble for my day job, and I'm not going to lie, but I appreciate you. You brought something up that I really want to talk about. You didn't bring it up, but you did bring it up. Beyonce in the country music lane. You're from Dallas. You're from Houston. And I know you're a huge Beyonce fan. You respect the woman's craft. And I would imagine that you know a little bit about, number one, country music, its origins, and how do you feel about it? Because you usually have a different take. She got white folk going crazy. They lose their mind. They know she about to shut down the CMAs next year. Like, we know this is a different thing. But you usually have a different take on things. So I'm curious to hear what your position is.
I do. And the thing is, some people can respect the fact that I'm an iconoclast and some people cannot, because they're either all or nothing.
What?
An iconoclast.
A what?
Children, iconoclast. So some people can respect that and some people cannot. It means that I can love the person without worshiping them. Mm-hmm. I can understand their identity and the fullness thereof without having to not be able to actually see them for who they are, criticize them, and take what it is that benefits me and leave the rest. Beyonce's no deity to me. I don't have one.
Right. You can appreciate her cultural impact without
absolutely.
A blind disciple.
In actual fact, I am literally the first person to ever interview Destiny's Child. I'll send you the picture so you can put that. You can show them. I'm literally the first first true VJ to ever interview Destiny's Child. So I love them. I love them.
Hold on. I gotta. For as long as I've known you, I never knew that. I need this story. How did this happen?
So I grew up in Dallas, Texas. We all know this, and I attended Lincoln Communications and Humanities Magnet High School. And of course, this is on their voyage to, this is before No. This is during No, because they came back to my school several times. But we had a radio and television studio in our school, and I was the VJ for the whole district, for the whole school district. So they're not the only people that I've interviewed. I mean, clearly, of course, I've done a lot more things since then, but I am one of the first stops that they ever made on their journey to fame. We're the same age. So it was really cool it was really cool to interview them. We were both 16 years old. Everyone was sitting there. We were talking, and never did I imagine that Beyonce would be who she is today. Never.
So Beyonce is really like our age. Like, she don't be lying.
She's really our age. Yeah, she's really our age. Well, my age. I don't know how old you are. I mean, no one knows. It's elusive. No one knows. How old are you?
There's a lot of stuff now, because now that I'm the Ryan Seacrest of news, as you said.
Absolutely. So people been Googling.
They try to Google and it don't come. It be wrong. Some stuff be right. Some stuff be wrong. My net worth is somewhere.
People have all the wrong information.
It's north of $2 million. I let that just sit. But then my height is at like 5'8".
Which is crazy. Because if you were 5'8", we wouldn't even be friends. And we definitely wouldn't be siblings, because I'm 5'9".
Correct.
So there's no way I would be looking down at you.
Not at all. That's not
saying
happening.
This is my big brother. This is crazy.
Right. So tell me about your take on Beyonce in the country music space.
Oh gosh. I really hate to do this, but I feel like I'm one of the only people who gets away with kind of pseudo criticizing Beyonce. I think it was half cocked. Like, I don't think these songs were ready to be released. Now, do I think she could have a successful country album? Absolutely, because if you really listen to Beyonce's music, there's always been an iteration of country woven in it. She has the yodel, she has all of the elements, she even has a true Southern accent. I mean, so she has all the ingredients to make. All the pieces are there, but I think that greed and entitlement is really getting the best of her, because we know there are so many other groups and artists in country music. And what I hate about, here I go again. What I don't like about us is that we're never researched enough. We're never up on what's actually current, what's real, our history, our culture enough. And we jump in the game, and for the people that we worship, we think that it started and stopped with them. I grew up.
Black people getting into country music.
Black people are country music. But bigger than that, there's Charlie Pride. I mean, even if you knew Hootie and the Blowfish when we were growing up, Tanya Blount and this guy, Aaron Neville. But then now there's Mickey Guyton, and the woman who Beyonce copied off of, is her name Tandy? I think that's her name. I think her name is Tandy. Mm-hmm. If you guys look her up, K. Michelle's been trying to break into country music since she began her career. So this is not. Beyonce is not a monolith. We'll just stick to something that people can.
Beyonce is not a monolith, and neither are her fans.
And neither are her raggedy fans. I don't like people worshipers. I really don't. That's what I struggle with. I struggle with the fact that a person cannot stop for a minute and just say, okay, she's great over here. She might not be so good over here. It's just like the people that try to make her a fashion icon. And we know for a fact that she's tacky.
Yeah, I mean, what I find
every day of the week.
Anytime somebody wants to hold her up as a fashion icon, and I have a tremendous amount of. So for me, I'm a person who admires, like, above anything else, I'm always going to admire work ethic over talent. I like talent to me when it comes to people. I feel like it's actually a dime a dozen, but the people who are willing to work hard, like
Yeah.
the Kobe's of the world
Yeah.
and the Beyoncés of the world, I
Yeah.
feel like they deserve every good thing that comes to them. And so for me, that's like where my fandom of Beyonce comes into, my appreciation of Beyonce comes, because I'm like, you work that hard at anything, you
Yeah.
deserve whatever happens. You know, you deserve all of the things, all the great things. What I
Absolutely.
would say is like, anytime somebody wants to bring up like her as a fashion icon, I'm like, House of Darion, anyone? Because that was terrible. Like it was terrible. And I mean, I realized that was her and Miss Tina's vision, and they can be lovely people, but House of Darion, if we keeping it 100, was trash.
Well, that's the other thing about Beyonce, right? Is it nature or is it nurture? Or is it a combination of the two? I think a lot of Beyonce's iconic like magnitude comes from nurture. I think that she was great on her own. Like she clearly could sing, she clearly could dance, but hell, 90% of Black girls in the 90s could. Now we've gotten into some different stuff where these kids don't have rhythm, don't understand. It's different. But we all had a little something we could give.
Yeah.
I mean, she definitely was nurtured into the position that she's in. Though hard work is exactly what did it.
That doesn't surprise me. Your take doesn't surprise me, and I without asking you, and part of it is because I know you so well. The other part was I knew as somebody who was from Texas, you would tell the truth about the state.
Yeah, that those two songs. Okay, so what I really
feel like, rushed. They do kind of feel rushed.
They are incomplete, and she is better than that. That's really all I have to say about the songs themselves. She's better than that. She has more power, more resources than those songs. And I don't appreciate her for whatever this is, the angle that she's, pushing, the agenda she's pushing right now. Because the other thing about entering into music genres, we've been around long enough to see that when people want to switch genres, or even when people want to enter into the industry, what do? They collaborate. So why not collaborate with the hottest, country artists right now? Like I said, like I brought up Mickey Guyton.
Or old girl who you kind of sort of took her thing.
Or old girl who you kind of sort of took her thing. But also, it was just half done to me generally. She showed up at the Grammys. Well, if you know anything about the West and Westerns and cowboys and the history of all of that, my last name is Younger. I am a descendant of the Cole Younger gang. These are cowboys. These are people who rode out in the West. If you're actually coming to take something back, why wouldn't you show up with your gang? It should have been every Black country musician in a cowboy hat sitting around her in the audience. She wouldn't have had to release anything. She wouldn't have had to say anything. She just showed up with her gang. I mean, that would have been colder to me. But her team,
or even if her gang, meaning her family, had on Western attire. No,
you show up with the people who are already leading the charge. You show up, if you move in weight, you don't show up with people selling cheese. You know what I'm saying? You show up with the people moving weight when y'all coming to take the block back.
So as you can see, everybody's just popping in and we just getting it going right here on the Charles Coleman podcast, keeping it live. Another thing I wanted to talk to you about, both of y'all now, since y'all are here, there's a new app called Score. And it's a dating app. There's a new dating app called Score. I want to hear everybody's opinion on this, because the way the app works is to even get on the app, right? Like to even get on the app, you have to have a minimum credit score. Other than that, you don't even get, like you can't get an invite, you can't get on. You got to get your credit checked just to get on the app. What do you think about that, guys? Some bullshit shit? Is it needed?
It's doomed to fail.
Really?
Yeah. That's not, I mean, okay. Is it one way to vet people?
I would think that would appeal to someone like you, to an African American like yourself. No. I think that would appeal to you.
Well, I've already matched my credit. You know what I'm saying? Like I've matched credit with someone already. So I really don't care about that. And the reality is, for people who, these same people are going to want something that feels more authentic and more genuine. but then they're matching based on credit history. It's weird. Like, credit history does not determine whether or not this person is a good person, a good human. It only determines whether or not they've paid their bills on time. And so that's just a weird way to decide that you want to like be in a relationship with someone. Does he pay his bills on time? Because this is the other thing. Like, I probably would. I know people with bad credit that I would say, you know, I would link up with this person. It's a good person. Like, you can improve credit scores. They got all kind of hustles and shit to raise your credit. Like, you can't give a person integrity and, you know, a whole lot of other things that are required to be partnered healthily.
So you think it's doomed to fail, Kurt? What's your take?
I think it's doomed to fail as well. Again, your credit score is a terrible reflection of character, in my opinion. You know, people co-sign for people being a good person and wind up getting jammed up. So that's a terrible way of, I guess, trying to discern when it comes to dating.
Hilary, you kind of surprised me. I would not now, obviously not now. Shout out to my man said, but you know what I'm saying? You went. I feel like back in the day when you was like dating, like that might be something. Not that you use as your.
No, pause. Okay, so pause. So let me tell you something about credit, right? So for me, I get where you're going with this, and I'm going to go ahead and just answer the question for you, right? So let's think about this. If you have $20 million, right? You know, $20 million. And in today's time, $20 million, it's attainable. It's easy. Well, I'll just say it's attainable. I won't say easy because now I'm, you know, if you have $20 million.
Talk that shit. If it's easy for you, it's easy for you, Jack.
Do you need credit? Do you need a credit score?
Good point.
I mean, you literally could buy whatever you want to buy.
If you cash heavy, that's a legitimate point.
For me, back in the day, even current day, your net worth means way more than your credit score to me. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Yeah. Credit scores is for niggas that's finna be working forever and ever, like at a job. Like, you need a credit score because you got to have something that says you're going to keep going to work and paying bills. If I just, like you said, if I'm over here cash heavy, who cares about my credit score? I'm not saying you shouldn't have good credit. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that in the grand scheme of money, it doesn't really matter. I guarantee you that some of the people that you think would have excellent credit probably don't. Yeah.
Kurt, you're one too.
I need credit, baby. You know, in that real estate game, that cash heavy is not the way to go. You know, it's good to have a nice, when your brick is up like a disco duck, but I like OPM. Other people's money is usually the best form of investment fortitude for me personally. But so I get your.
Would you go on? Would you go on score? Would you if you was in the game? If you was in the street?
Nah.
Why not?
It's just not the game I'm willing to play.
Now I got a question. We've talked about the fact that, like, if you start in one lane in a relationship, meaning that, like, if you, for example, begin dating someone and their financial aptitude, or, you know, is your primary focus, what it is that they can do financially, who they are, and what they bring to the table, that you can't then turn around and be like, oh, but what about love and companionship down the line, so on and so forth. Kurt, are these people setting themselves up for a disaster by like if you meet somebody, if this is the premise or the underlying premise for like where you're looking for love, are you setting yourself up, or do these people still have like, oh, okay, you got a 720, I can fall in love with you? Like, is it one of the, is it the same thing where it's like you already down the road in a way that's not going to allow you to switch lanes?
Well, you know how I feel about the lane switching.
Tell the people, because they might not have heard.
So, you know, well, to answer your question, those people who are going to use that as a measuring stick or as a tool to kind of wean out others, it's the same as like, you know, title chasers, right? People that only date people who in the workforce have a particular title, right? Oh, I only deal with C-level people.
I only deal with the C-suite, yeah.
Right. But in that, right, you know, you're dealing with a finite amount of people. It's not a lot of people in that.
There's no wide net to cast with that. Also, that is just a silly litmus test. and that's the thing. I agree with you. Other people's money is great, but in the grand scheme of things, I'm saying if you're just looking for, because sometimes people aren't trying. Sometimes people are content. They got whatever they got, and they're really not trying to optimize that. They're just there. So stability and all of that's what you're looking for. The credit score is not going to do it. That's something that can also change. It changes.
I agree.
Yeah. There's
That's
nothing.
true. I wonder if they go back and they check. Because, like, you know, my credit score when I was trying to buy my first crib, I made sure that it was like airtight. Now, since that time, it's done some things. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I just wonder, like, if you know, does it how do they keep up with it over time? Because I might have got in at
Yeah.
done.
Do they kick you out? Like when it drops below
And do they keep checking?
800, 7, what is it? 720 to get in? Is it like a spades game? 10 to get in? Like, how much you got to have to get in?
You speaking Kurt's language.
Check it. Is it a hard inquiry making it go down every time they check my junk?
What's happening? You checking it? Is it lowering the score? Do you do all 3 bureaus, or is it just do you do the ones behind? Like, what do we need to do? Like, what's going on here?
Imagine going to somebody's profile and they got their credit report like and their pictures.
No way I would deal with somebody that lame. That's a lame ass person.
That's wild.
Experience is lit right now.
Ass shit. Okay?
Imagine the banner and your profile pic being like your score circled in red.
Yeah.
Yo, that's crazy to me.
Pretty wild. Can you imagine how boring that person is?
But this is a testament to how I don't want to say thirsty, but how desperate people are for love, that we're coming up with the most random and wildest avenues to try to find a partner.
It's the internet. It's the Wild Wild West. There's no rules. So it's just like, that's the part that doesn't surprise me. You know, somebody was sitting around. They probably got like, to your point, Kurt, somebody co-signed on something for somebody got done bad and was like, I just wish that I knew what I was getting into beforehand. Had the idea, bow, scores. No. Yeah, and now we up. We outside.
That Ultima did it.
The
Ultima.
It was the rims, Kirk. It was the rims.
The Ultima crusher.
It wasn't even a car. It was the rim. Like,
damn.
Like, the craziest thing about this credit score conversation, though, is like nowadays, like, girls have to have top tier credit to like care credit to get like BBLs and all kinds of cosmetic surgery.
Wait, you said just because they don't have a credit, you said they're getting credit scores for BBLs? Like they're financing BBLs?
Yeah, people are. Yeah. You think all these poor ass girls who work at Wendy's and Target and shit have $20,000 laying around to get a whole new ass?
First of all, it's not $20,000. Jackson Hewitt, baby. We back up.
Well, that's the income tax. There's a group of those, but there are also credit cards that you can apply for just for cosmetic surgery.
Yes.
And the reality is, you know, think about this, right? No, think about this. Think about this.
And in the state of New York, Medicaid will cover it.
See what I'm saying?
What?
Yes, sir.
But you think about it, you can have a low you can have a low yield credit card. Like it could be like, oh, the credit card is $3,000, right? And say, for instance, your procedure costs $10,000. You go to this clinic. I learned this. Like, this is some shit I figured out. I learned from someone. Go to the clinic. They'll swipe your credit card for the full $3,000, right? They'll let you pay that. And then you do it until you pay off your surgery. But you have to have a good credit score, a decent enough credit score to even get to qualify for the credit. Like, credit scores are I'm not saying they're mean.
So
what Kirk was talking about. I understand that that's a business conversation, right? But in the grand scheme of things, your grandmother, my grandmother, who never made more than $4 an hour, had probably like a perfect credit score. You see what I'm saying? So, while I would figure she was a good person and she could cook and do all the other stuff, she had a big booty, she wore a house coat, like all the stuff that y'all would like. She wasn't wealthy, you know?
Yes, she was.
I mean, yes. in the way that these people are looking for, I'm sure. The person looking for credit score is also looking for something else. They're not just looking for a good credit score.
So what you're telling me is that it could have actually been somebody who they didn't get beat on the Ultima sign off. They got beat it could have been a dude who got beat on the breast and the breast reduction and the booty lift, and he was like, Oh, she left me?
Yeah.
Upgrade on wrong.
Yeah. Upgrade gone wrong. I love that. That's a spinoff of this.
Mm.
Upgrade going wrong. I wish, wow, I didn't even notice you could finance these things.
Yeah.
Everything finance, baby.
Listen, that's why you need your credit score.
Yo, Kurt, would you ever pay for a woman's, you know what I'm saying, cosmetic enhancement?
Would I ever pay for
Before, like someone you wasn't married to?
Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
Be the option. So that's it.
I've known several men who've done it on some big pun. I pay for the
Get your own.
Get your own, you heard? And I was like, you know, when you break up, y'all, you can't take that with you. That was always
You can take that back though.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna need those.
You gonna take her titties out?
Yeah, I'm gonna need that.
Get her to go under the knife because y'all broke up is crazy.
She gotta give it back. She gotta give back the 30 cc's or however many, however that works.
And you're gonna do what with them, sir?
Hold that down.
That's nasty work.
There'll be others.
The filthiest of work. It's the nastiest.
That is nasty work, bro.
Word.
So speaking of Wild Wild West, nasty work, and we got to talk about this, right? Like, look, I believe that every podcast, every online platform has got to have its space to grow. I don't hate on nobody. I want everybody to get their space, they shine, and get their money. I really do.
That like we getting fired, right?
Not at all. But we got to have a conversation. Because Club Shay Shay is turning messy as hell. Club Shay Shay got messy as fuck.
Hey.
I mean, it's messy as fuck fat. I'm talking about, and the thing about it is that I think Shannon knew, because before the Cat interview dropped, before the Cat Williams interview dropped, he was like, yo, he said to people, y'all not ready for this. It's about to break the internet. And since them 53 million views,
Matt,
and everything that's happened since, this has been a mess. Kurt, are we going in the wrong direction?
I think, well, Charles, it's a tough way to respond to that. I think we're moving in the right direction, but I think the people want podcasters to be the new saviors, right? Especially black podcasters. So with us, whenever we discuss anything, it has to be a representation of a people, unfortunately. And when we get up here and we allow some riffraff to go ahead and do what they need to do, the dirtier the information they spew, the more people want to watch.
People love controversy.
I'm strategic, right?
People love controversy.
They love mess.
So then, mess now becomes a new commodity.
Yeah.
Are we going to peddle it or what are we doing?
Hilary, your take before I get deeper into this, because I got a lot of thoughts here.
I mean,
don't hold back. Neither y'all. You don't gotta hold back. Just call it for what it is.
Like I have to agree with D.L. Hughley when he said Shannon Sharpe is just Wendy Williams with a weight bench. Like,
Jesus Christ,
it was. It was too much for me. Like, and I'm tolerant. I have a slight tolerance for mess. Like, I'm a person who was a huge Joan Rivers fan. I loved it. But this was too much for me, especially coming from a man. Like, where is the balance? Like, where is the balance? Like,
that's gone.
Who is reeling everything back in? If not you guys, it's just crazy. I just never seen a man be that fucking messy. I'm sorry. And for me, it was a complete turnoff. I don't like messy ass men. I don't like messy people generally, but to see a man be that messy, it's too much for me. It was very feminine, and I know I might get a lot of backlash for that. I'm not saying it was too much for me. I don't like it. I don't like it.
So here's where I'm at with it. I think that I say this a lot. You can't hustle controversy for profit because you're playing with forces you can't control. And, I get it. 53 million views is intoxicating. I don't know what I would do if we got 53 million views on one episode. But chances are, whatever I did on that episode that got 53 million views, I would do it again. I mean, look,
Yeah.
I understand. And
all we do after that point.
Yeah. That's how we talk. That's how we do.
That's
we don't
it.
do shit else. That's it.
Every day.
Mess.
All day. 24 hours a day.
Mess.
I'm talking about, I just come in and just throw this shit up. Just
Mess.
wherever it falls. I brought the mess.
Not all in it. Just mess.
Right.
You gonna get on and say, what? You're hired. Let's go.
Yeah.
So
Get in here. Why is it? Get in here.
I guess the number one question is, here's the number one question. For someone in his position, he has to ask himself, where do you want to go with this? Because this is a short road. You said what you say, Kurt?
To the top. Nigga, that's what
This is a short road. And I'm gonna explain why it's a short road. It's a short road because the only people right now that you're getting are people who got something to air out, or people who are responding to people who got something to air out, who are willing to come that low, right? And then people who are looking to become relevant again because they can't go to other platforms and, do what they're doing there. And so it's going to limit you because, truth be told, if I'm somebody who's like really at the top of my game, like if I'm Denzel Washington,
you're not going on that shit.
I'm not going on that show.
No.
If I'm Michael B. Jordan and I'm thinking about my next move, I'm not going on that show. I'm limiting you know what I'm saying? You're limiting yourself to a very particular space. And, to the Wendy Williams point, I guess that's a really, really accurate analogy because once you get seen like that in that space,
people also stop letting you in the room.
Yeah, they're going to look at you different.
Yeah.
They're going to look at you different. And I don't know whether, he's got a couple things going on. He's got Shay Shay, he's got ESPN, and he's got the Nightcap, and I'm sure some other things that's going on. He might feel like, fuck it, I'm good enough. I'm straight. But I just feel like if you're really trying to take this space of media, entertainment, interviewing people, all of that seriously, this is not going to be the route to get there. You got to reverse course real quick because now it looks like it seems like you looking for it.
That's all. Chasing your mess like an ambulance or chaser, like an attorney looking for a car accident. But you know what the other part of that is? The other piece of that is not just the guests are not going to respond. He targeted the most fickle audience in media. The messy audience, they're going to just move to the next messiest person. That's what they do. And while they watch you, then they get bored. These people's attention spans are very short. So now you got the 59 million views because of the mess. You got to keep it messy because now you're dealing with people that are like toddlers. That's all they care about. So if you try to bring information back, if you try to bring substance back, those people are not going to sit and watch. So what you do is you consistently stick to the goal. Like whatever it is your trajectory is, you stick to that and you don't deviate from it. Because organically growing is the best way to grow because that audience is going to stick with you.
And they're loyal.
They're not going to stick around.
Well, I mean, as much as I agree with you, Hilary, you have to think about, even in your response, in my opinion, right, that response was very educated, right, and calculated. But the people we're talking about aren't, right? So they will never understand that there's a thing that's happening on Club Shay Shay. They don't see it that way. They see it. There was somebody would have some level of position of power, whether it be a comedian, athlete, whoever it may be, and they're outing people. The adrenaline is about the out. The person who's outing, it doesn't even matter. The story 9 times out of 10 don't matter. It's just this whole appetite for exposure, right? It's like, yo, if I got something I need to say, I want to hear him say it about him because I've always wondered what that person is like, right? But then also too, I'm thinking like the people, right? So you look at a Cat Williams, right? Who's coveted by this particular community, right? I don't even know what to call it, but there's his audience, his demographic, right? But then those people aren't the type of people who can sit down and articulate the interview. They can't say what happened and why they're attracted to it. All they want to know is their hero got jerked by somebody, and we want to know who. And now that we know who, we've now created this proverbial beef that quite frankly, might not even really exist anymore. But it's exciting. Same thing like when Taraji was crying. Everybody's like, oh, it's messed up. She's underpaid. Well, yeah, she may be underpaid, but she's also dealing in the studios of people that don't have the big bag like that. So she's tight that Tyler Perry didn't give her a certain amount of money as if that was Steven Spielberg. It's two different pockets. So if you, I don't want to say typecast yourself, but if you this actress or this entity that want to stay true to your people, quote unquote, and keep it real, then it has a glass ceiling, unfortunately. And when you hit it, that's when you get tight. And that's now when we're going to hit the secrets now. Now we're going to hear about the invitations that was taking place at the parties and blase blip and this, that, and the third. We don't need to hear that.
But but is there any longevity in that, Kurt? Like, you really
of course.
You think so?
Yes.
I think that some
mess is the new hero, bro.
Here's the thing. I feel like at some point something's got to give. Either the quality of your work is going to have to change, or the quality of your guests is going to have to go down. That's the thing. You're not going to get this. I mean, I really think me and Hilary are right on this one. You're not going to continue to attract the type of talent that you're looking for. I mean, he's had some really significant guests on there early on throughout what he's doing. I don't think you're going to continue to attract that type of A-list talent if this is what you're doing. I just think that it's going to end up being like, nah, I'm not messing with him. Cause you got to remember the trajectory. He started Shay Shay toward the end of his career with Skip. At that point, he was really, really popular. He was on Undisputed, and people didn't really like how Skip was doing him. So he also became like, it was also like, we cheering for you. We want you to win.
Right, because he was standing up for himself.
Correct, right? And we saw that. And so there were certain guests who was like, word, you know, I watch you, I respect you.
Mm-hmm.
I respect you. So I'm gonna come on your platform and I'm gonna mess with you. That's where it started. And that's why he was getting the guests that he was getting. And I mean, now though, you've had Cat Williams, which was like went a mess. Then you had Monique, which went even further left, right? And then, like, if you watch a lot of these, you know, to your point, Kurt, if you watch a lot of these interviews, right, one of the things that's the formula, I'm gonna give you the secret. People don't always really watch podcasts. They watch the clips, like they get chopped up. That's why that's the game. Like, that's really the game. Like, people watch the clips. So everybody's looking for the viral moment. Well, what's the viral moment? Oh, I want to get you to tell a story that nobody ever heard, so on and so forth. It's something that even when I've interviewed people like Richie Murphy, I've interviewed people like Blue Williams. These are people who've been around like A-list talent forever. They've got 1,000,000,001 stories, but I'm not getting them drunk like Drink Champs, trying to get some out of them, make them look crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then I respect the fact that you can tell, I know they got stories that they just can't tell or that they won't tell.
People who work in industry, we pocket people's business every day.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to put them in a position where it's like, yeah, give me the thing so I could go get viral. Because I know somebody who's looking at my podcast is gonna be like, I don't want to mess with that. I just don't think Kurt, at the level of guests that he has, in that messy space, I don't think it's sustainable, bro.
Well, Kurt also said something that I think we have to continue to keep at the forefront of our minds about media. We really have to stop thinking that these people are not journalists. Like, the three of us, we graduated from a school of communications. Whether, you know what I'm saying, whether we're active, well, you're a journalist. Let's not sleep on Charles. I mean, he's on every single channel on television right now. So yeah, absolutely. You know, amongst other things. These people, Shannon Sharpe is not a journalist. So when you look at something like The Breakfast Club, even with Angela Yee and Charlemagne and those people are degreed people who came out of the schools of journalism. So they understand another level to what they're doing. So they sit down and they talk to people. And the way they pull things out of people is very different. You learn something in those moments. When you sit down with somebody like Shannon Sharpe, he doesn't have any questions to ask anyone where you're going to know. There's no takeaways there. There are going to be no takeaways there. It's only going to be inflammatory bullshit. And
toxic explosions.
it's toxic. And for a person like, it could just be me, but I'm at my wit's end. I don't give a shit about what's going on with anybody else. After R. Kelly, Diddy had his season. I don't want to know anymore. I want to go back to the days where the iron veil, where the veil is there. I just don't want to know. I don't want to know. Because what am I going to do with the information once I know? Like, we know people who've worked for all these people. We know people who've literally been in their camps, right? So it's not like people like you and I didn't already know these things were going on. But the reality of it is, what am I going to do with that information? Even for my own self, I go into people's homes, people who you know, like people who I could write a book, sit down and do a full expose on and maybe make some money like that. But the long game for me, that would literally ruin my career.
I think that's really what it is. I think, you know what I'm saying, Kurt, I think, and you can feel free to disagree or give your take on it, but I think that it's really a matter of short term versus long term. If you can't, and here's the other piece, right? And I noticed this is no disrespect because I think that there are a lot of great sports podcasts out there, but I noticed that there are a lot of players in different leagues, particularly the NFL and the NBA, who are recently retired, meaning that they played in the early 2000s and they might be between 5 and 10 years in retirement. And they're all on these sports podcasts. And number one, I mean, granted, I'm not mad at having a niche. Like, sports is your thing, that's cool. But if 85% of your podcast is telling stories about what happened back in the day, or telling stories with your people who you played with, and you played in the league for 15 seasons, once those stories are over, what else do you have? And I think that, like, with this point, I'm thinking like Hilari is right now. Shannon, you hot. I don't know how you would monetize this. You can. I'm assuming there's a way. YouTube views by themselves. Obviously, that's going to be some monetization. But I think long term, for what you could do with your platform, given everything that you have going, you're on ESPN every day. Every day of the week, you're on ESPN. You have access pretty much to everybody in different sports leagues. You have this platform online where you're doing streaming. For what you could do with that space in media, I feel like you're selling yourself way short going after the messy short money, because I don't think that money's going to be there for a very long time because that community is fickle, like you said.
Well, look at Nate Burleson, look at Michael Strahan, and then look at Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe was well on his way into spaces similar to Michael and Nate Burleson. Now, no one come on, dog. You messed that up. No one's calling you.
Remember, Hilari, again, you're talking about a space, right? That there's a differentiation of the mindset, right? So you have an educated African American who's looking at long term and productivity and impact, the real positive words of life, and then you got niggas who just want the spotlight and the fame. So there's two different trajectories of vision for those two different people, and we see it play out, right? When like to use Michael Strahan and Shannon Sharpe, you see what the game gets you. You see what the mindsets do.
I'm trying to improve my credit score. You see what I'm saying? That's all I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep my credit
on score. Get a little side piece on score. But that's real quick though. That's a really interesting point in that I don't wish nothing bad on Shannon at all. But I would be. But in reality though,
he not gonna fight you, Charles.
He left.
His suit too tight. He can't move his arms and shit. Good, you good.
And you don't roll dolo.
Yeah, exactly. We got.
When he left Undisputed, arguably he had displayed enough charm and enough sort of like personality where from a trajectory place, a Good Morning America down the line, a morning show or something like that down the line, it wasn't out of the press. It wasn't out of the question. And what I can tell you is, I don't care what you monetizing off of YouTube. You ain't monetizing that Good Morning in America money. I promise you that.
It's
That
not.
one show money. Let me
It's not the same thing.
explain something to you. Michael Strahan is making way more money right now than he was ever sacking quarterbacks.
Absolutely.
That is an absolute fact, Jack.
Absolutely.
And so,
Nate Burleson.
right, and so is Nate Burleson. And so when you think about, the crazy thing is when you think about the fact that like he hasn't been out of that lane for that long. The Cat Williams interview aired this year. And we only in February. And all that stuff right now is, I won't say it's not a possibility. I would say he would have to make a very extreme pivot.
He's got to dial it back. He's got to dial it back. He's got to do what Fani Willis did. He got to turn his dress around.
Y'all are bugging.
That's my last. You know what? Since you brought it up, Kurt, we all just gonna stay on for this last one. That's my last one. Is the Fani Willis. First of all, I'm glad you said it because somebody said it to me, and I'm a man. If I had said that she had the dress on backwards, I would have got smoked. So I said nothing about the fact that this woman had a dress on backwards. But I'm glad you pointed that out, Hilary.
Cross, baby, Atlanta. That's how we giving it up.
What?
Crisscross. With my clothes on backwards. What's up? JD, good.
Well, hold on, y'all. So let's talk about that for real. Let's really educate people about
Let's talk about that for real.
Turn backwards, right? So, I'm from the South, and now that people have stepped into different spaces of,
how long did it take you to realize her dress was on backwards? I got to know this. Did you know immediately? Yeah.
For me?
Yeah.
When she sat down, I knew it was on backwards. When she sat down, I knew it was on backwards. And in that moment, I'm not sure how much you guys, Kurt, you hate shit, right?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Yeah.
Is it somebody on our show hate shit? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Bottom line is, she was practicing that merger, that Christianity and that voodoo merger that happens in the South. Turn your dress around, you walk it back. When someone lies on you, right? Someone lies on you, they've defamed you. They've tried to put you out there in a bad way. She turned that dress around because that's the magic. Mm-hmm. You walk it back. Even if you look at how she put the pendant on upside down, the American flag, the pendant, it's supposed to hang and be relaxed, right? She put the American flag upside down. Let me tell you something. I believe in her. And the reason I believe in her is because she really is sincere about what she's doing to bring her practice into this, to bring her practice of whatever somebody want to call it. They want to call it witchcraft, whatever they want to call it. But the reality is that shit's been being practiced on us for hundreds of years now. And she is serious about what she's doing in Atlanta. Now, whether she's sloppy, whatever, I still think she's smart. I'm going to stick beside her. I'm going to stick beside my good alum. I
thought you were joking, but
no, I'm dead serious. That's why I say I'm dead serious. Look it up. I
didn't even realize.
If you notice, she had the bottle of water. She never drank out of that water.
Mm-hmm.
She never drank a sip of that water.
I didn't. Wow. I didn't even. That is wow.
Ask your mom. I'm sure she knows.
I will. I mean, someone else had pointed out to me that the dress was on backwards, but I didn't realize that. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the pin situation because I didn't even peep that. I got eviscerated on Twitter. I came in and I said, I recognize the fact that her dignity had been attacked, that her integrity had been challenged, that her professionalism was under assault. And I also said, when she first came in there, I said, yo, but you got to chill. I said, you have to chill. I acknowledge that she was sitting at an intersection of gender and race and professionalism. And even as all of those things were being put under a microscope, I was one who said, you still have to be mindful that it's too easy to fall into the trope of being an angry Black woman. It's not fair. It's not right. It's not okay. But you have to be aware of it. You can't act like that doesn't exist or that's not a factor in what the world is viewing and how this may come across. And baby, when I tell you they got after my ass, they got after me. Say that again?
They tore your ass up, didn't he?
They was mad, sis. They was mad with me on the
Yeah.
Twitter. And I was just very bugged out about it because now granted, don't get me wrong, there were a lot of people who was like, you right, I get it, so on and so forth. I think where it was very clearly there was a generational divide, and then there was like a super duper pro militant feminism divide because they felt like I was trying to police the behavior of Black women. And I felt like, well, I hear what you're saying, but I also live in a real world. And in the real world in which we live, these things are going to be said, these thoughts are going to be thought, and acting like because we don't want them to exist, we could just wish them away is not realistic. Hilari, Cashmere, your thoughts on any of it that we're talking about?
I just didn't see the purpose of them calling her. You know, feel like that was
they didn't call her. Well, initially, they subpoenaed her, and she tried to fight the subpoena. She voluntarily went on the stand from the state. That's really how it went down.
But how? I guess from the defense's perspective, catching her in say some type of lie or whatever, or if she'd have blown it, right? How would have been helpful?
What do you mean? They were trying to disqualify her.
Disqualify her as the DA?
Yeah, on the case. Oh, you way behind. We got to get you caught up.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like,
they were trying to discredit her, which is why she decided to testify, because I think this woman is brilliant enough to understand how the law and the media intersect and how they love to throw out a red herring and act like one of these things has something to do with the other one, and they don't. Right. And just the mere fact that she got to say, I am not on trial, I am not the person who tried to steal an election, that moment in and of itself, that was the viral moment that everyone needed to hear. That was the thing that she got up on the stand to say. This is a red herring. This has nothing to do with what's going on. Who I sleep with, who I bed, has absolutely nothing to do with this man who is the president trying to steal an election. And this is the thing that I had an issue with. We have been represented by someone who has completely malpracticed politics, law, and just any type of socialization. Donald Trump was our president. So anything after that, I have no critique for what Fani Willis gets up and how irrational and angry she is. We had to sit under Donald Trump as our representative. So with that said, if she got up there and turned the whole table over, I mean, okay. The world we live in now. That's what I would say. This is the new world.
I get it, but and don't get me wrong, I fully understand that sentiment. I think the thing that comes to mind is people always like to say to us, which I understand may not necessarily be the way to go, but also still warrants some consideration. We can't do what they do. So like what they set as their standard is not going to necessarily be applicable to us. Like, the example that I always use this example is if I'm mentoring young men and I'm talking to them about dealing with the police, I would love to be able to say to them, you can pull out your phone, you can start recording them, you can ask them questions, you can speak to them in the same tone they speaking at you, but I want to make sure they come home at night. Is that right? No, it's not right. Is it fair? No, it's not fair, but it's also a reality that I'm aware of, that if I'm being responsible in guiding them, I can't ignore. And that's really where I think the Fani conversation gets a little tricky, Hilari, because everything you said is right from a principle standpoint. It is absolutely right. But I don't think this conversation is about right and wrong. I think
it never is. It's never about right and wrong. And to be Black is to be so multipolar that like it's a space that we exist in that no one can understand. And like knowing when to do this thing mentally, emotionally, orally, all of those things, it's something that we have to master so early in our lives. And I think that outwardly, one way that we change it is that there's no them and us. there's no them in us anymore. White gays and all, because that's what they do. It's all this, to make us feel like we're inferior or that we're doing something wrong. It's all this narcissistic bullshit that's always been done to us. So there's no them in us when it comes to like getting what we want, getting our way. There's no them in us. But between us, we know that there's them in us. Does that make sense? That's crazy. I know it's very multipolar, but there's no them in us. Like, we can't care about what the backlash is going to be, what they're going to say. White gays does not matter. It doesn't matter. We've always been concerned about that. And I think in part, a lot of that has been our problem. At first it was religion keeping us down. Now it's white gays and respectability. And what are they going to think? Who gives a fuck what white people are going to think?
Generally speaking, I have no disagreement with you. The one caveat that I have with Fani, where I push back on, is she still got to put this dude in jail. She still has a case to prosecute. And that's the thing that I kept saying to people. Generally speaking, no pushback, no disagreement.
Yeah.
But she still got a larger picture she's got to be mindful of in terms of like how someone feels about her could potentially impact how this case goes.
The bigger picture. Yeah.
Correct. And so I'm aligned with you like pretty much completely. My only thing was why I said it specifically about her is, and I got the receipts, I got the tweets to prove it. I said the difference is she's still got a larger case that she's got to prosecute. So it matters in a different way. Kurt, I want to give you like one of the last words on this before we get out of here.
Get the dude that she was dating on Club Shay Shay so we can get the inside scoop on how that went down. Period.
You really gonna let that be the last word?
That's mad appropriate,
baby. Mess.
Kurt, I thought you were turning over a new leaf in the new. No, same
old Kurt.
2022 leaves.
That's it.
You know what it is?
Bring them in.
That's crazy. All I'll say about Fani is the flesh is weak. And when you're a public servant like Fani and you got to stick around a courthouse and make that little bitty wage, anybody walking by your door or your office, I mean, you think about it, them people make this much money. They get this much access to the eggplants and the ding-a-ling. She saw him and she was like, come on. I mean, she was in a tough spot. I understood what happened before she even opened her mouth. I'm like, look at the work she's done. This woman ain't left there. She has not left downtown. She been in there the whole time. This is who was passing by. She said, oh my God, if only I could get a little bit of this off of me. Just a little something off of me. She took this nigga to Tennessee. Then she said, if y'all think that's a vacation, I mean, it was the equivalent of Red Lobster. She took him to Tennessee. She said it was his birthday. I mean, I had to do something.
I got him those Kenneth Polo
trip to Tennessee. Y'all been to Tennessee? That wasn't no celebration. There was no damn celebration. She took this man to get some ribs and to hear the banjo. It was not no celebration. Come on now.
With red cabbage coleslaw.
You see what I'm saying? They done
oh my God.
Listen.
Terrible.
This was not a love affair. This was not a love affair.
Well, Pop say, wasn't she dating a DJ? I think his name was Deuce.
Pop said he loved the DJ. You know, the DJ was bringing like fried gizzard baskets and shit by. Pops was like, I like him. You know what I'm saying?
Gizzard basket is crazy.
He said, I like him. DJ dude. He come through.
No, I think his name Deuce.
Got a slice of pound cake or something for the daddy when he come by. He loved him. He was like, that's my dude. He don't care nothing about my blood pressure, my A1C, none of that. He just know what I like. And he bring it to me every time he show up.
Fried gizzards.
Fried gizzards.
Doesn't he look like an old man who like, now I'm a lawyer, but I love me some fried gizzards.
That's right.
Tear him up.
Shit.
I'm just saying, that's where he come from. It's his roots, a fried gizzard basket. DJ came through. He like, they hot too. Here you go, Pops.
There you go.
Yeah, you go. Enjoy yourself. Knock yourself out. You know what I'm saying? That's what he say. Knock yourself out.
That is going to do it for this episode of the Charles Coleman Podcast. I want to thank everyone's favorite chocolate drop, Hilary Younger, for joining, along with my man, Cashmere Kirk Quillen, the 6-shooter. We're here every week, every Wednesday. A new episode drops. Amazing conversations, all sorts of laughs, entertainment, and education on the Charles Coleman Podcast your new home for Black brilliance. So we'll see you next week. Peace.